We're back with Henry Hutcheson on Born Before 64, and what I want to know, Henry, is you worked for IBM for how long, and why did you want to quit?
Boy, what a long story. So yes, after college, I left Olin Mills. I went to work for IBM and traveled around the world in a number of great positions, ending up as the Director of Business Transformation, which is kind of internal consulting for IBM. Long story short, I was on an assignment in Paris, France with the PC company, and the IBM PC company had been sold to Lenovo, a Chinese company. It was the first purchase of an American company from a Chinese, mainland China company.
Right.
Very exciting. So I was in the room, I was part of the team when the first group of Chinese people came over to the IBM PC facility to talk about how are we going to integrate our companies, so on and so forth.
Right.
Great job, very exciting, traveling all over the world to try to make all of this happen. But I was on a conference call at 3 in the morning with China, and I had been doing this 6, 7 nights a week for months.
And you were married by this time?
I was married with 2 children.
How old?
And I had the children or me?
Children, not you. Children.
Well, they're 15 and 17 now. Don't make me do the math.
Okay, that's all right. They were little kids then?
They were, well, this is 2014. This was 2007 time frame.
Okay, 7 years ago.
Right, 7 years ago. So I basically decided or realized that I got a great job. It's very exciting, and the pay's good, and so on and so forth. But I don't want to be up at 3 in the morning all the time talking to China. It's a 12-hour time zone difference. Headquarters is now a 12-hour time zone difference away, and I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So I decided to take a sabbatical for a year. I ended up taking 6 months, and actually it's a very tragic story. But my nephew, my brother's son, was in a fatal car accident.
Oh, wow.
Right after I got back from South Africa, my family got back from South Africa.
Oh, wow.
It's the worst thing that can possibly happen to somebody. And I was there for my brother when this happened, and basically he, very organized, very disciplined, very together person. His life fell apart, he and his wife. And so I basically moved into their house and took over their lives for them. For about 3 months, I moved to Dallas, and I handled all of their affairs, It's a tragic, tragic thing. Long story short, my brother and I, when I graduated business school, had started a family business consulting firm. We were both talking about it. I'd left. I'd gotten an offer to go work for Compaq for a year. I was with IBM and business school and Compaq for a year and back to IBM. And during this time, after his son Warren had died, he said, "Look, why don't you come work with me?" And I thought, I don't have a job. I'm going to go back to Raleigh and try to find a job, which is where I lived. And I thought, why not work with my brother being a family business consultant? And so I started working with him, working with family businesses around the country. He kind of trained me and educated me and so on and so forth. He's much older than I am. Well, not much older. I'm 50 and he's 58 or 59. And so we worked together for a couple of years, and then I started writing for the local newspaper, the News and Observer. And I started getting phone calls directly to me saying, "Hey, I read your article, will you come talk to us?" And then I started writing for the Charlotte Observer and wrote for the Columbia paper in Columbia, South Carolina. The name slips my mind. And I started getting people, family businesses, calling me directly. So I had a conversation with my brother and said, "Look, we can keep working together, but there's really no need." Both of our philosophies are that when you work with a family business as a consultant, you don't go in as a team of people. You go in as an individual. And the reason why is simple. I need to develop a relationship with each one of the family members, one-on-one. Me with the dad, me with the mom, me with the son, me with the daughter, me with the uncle, so that everybody has the same amount of trust and knowledge in me. If there's multiple consultants, then I don't have the same relationship with the son that the other consultant has.
That's right.
And it makes it very awkward and difficult. So long story short, I founded Family Business USA, and I've been consulting with family businesses for the last 4 years or so on my own, and it's been great. And I got to tell you, it's great helping people. That's
Right.
the great thing about
Now,
it.
what did your brother do?
He's still consulting. He lives in Dallas. He's kind of looking on the latter part of his career now. He's trying to take more time off. He has a house in Colorado. He sits on some boards, and he still consults to family businesses just as I do. And if he gets a lead in North Carolina, he sends it to me, and if I get a lead in Dallas, I'll give it to him. So,
Well, that works out really well then. Now,
Yeah.
how many people work for you now?
including me, one.
So you're it. So you're it.
And the people in the field, you basically have a choice. You can either have a team or you can kind of, and I take that back. I do have an admin and I do have associates that I work with. I have attorneys and accountants and so on and so forth that
So
I'm
they're
associated
contractual
with.
more so, would you say?
Well, they don't, it depends on what the client wants. I typically make introductions to people. I'm not beholden to any one particular group or person.
So it's similar to what I do.
It is very
I
similar.
mean, because what I do is I contract people
Right.
when I need them for a client,
Exactly.
which makes it a lot easier.
Exactly.
And if there's a budget to do it, then we'll do it. I
Right.
mean, because I work in a lot of different fields, so it makes it easier. Tell me how much of a challenge it is working for a family.
You know, it's such a joy to, you never know what you're going to get. There's a lot of best practices out there. There's some education, some knowledge, and so on and so forth. But every client is different. And the goal is very simple. My goal with the family business and their goal, they don't realize it until I tell them this, but it's to preserve the wealth that they've built up through the business, and it's to maintain or improve family harmony. And the operative piece is and. It doesn't do any good to have a bunch of money and have an estranged relationship with your son or your father. And it's wonderful to have a relationship with your family, but if you've frittered away all of the wealth that you've built up by making silly mistakes, well, that's not good either. So you need both. And so that's the objective when you're working with a family business. Preserve the wealth, continue building the wealth, but let's make sure we maintain the family harmony at the same time, right?
Is it hard to tell people things sometimes? Or should I rephrase that?
Well, let me rephrase it for you.
Okay, go right ahead.
The best kind of consulting that occurs, especially when you're dealing with relationships, you're trying to make change. People are needing to change their perspective and opinions on certain things within the family, so on and so forth, and the business, and so on and so forth. There are some consulting fields where you come in and say, listen, I've looked at your situation, I see what the problem is, here's what you need to do to fix it. If you go do this, everything will be fine. You can't do that when you're talking about a relationship that's not going well with your son, because it's just not that simple. Making those types of changes need to come from within. So my goal when I work with family businesses is to help them come to their own discovery of what the right answer is. I can tell them all day long, but if they discover it themselves, now you have real change that occurs.
Sometimes does it take a long time for that to happen?
It does. It doesn't necessarily take a long time, but it does take time. So everybody that's worked in a business has probably been on an all-day meeting where we're having education, everybody's getting trained on something that needs to happen in the business. You can't sit down with a family business and educate them in 24 hours or do an off-site for a weekend and say, here's all the information you need, and now you know what you need to do, and we're going to go forward and change our behavior. It doesn't work that way. A better way to do it, the effective way to do it, is do it over time. You meet, you discuss, you see what the options are out there, you try to think outside the box on possibilities.
Right.
And then you go away, you talk a little more, and then you come back, and then you pick it up again. This gives people time to kind of change their perspective and consider it. And so it takes months. It'll take months sometimes to get to the right answer.
And on that note, we need to take a short break, and we'll be right back with Henry Hutcheson with Family Business USA after these messages.